April 19. 481 B.C. An eclipse of the sun noticed by Herodotus. 1110. Robert, abbot of Molisme, founder of the Cistercians, died. The Cistercian monks allotted several hours of the day to copying books, or sacred studies and manual labor. See March 28, 1134. 1390. Robert II, of Scotland, died, aged 84. He was the first of the House of Stuart who reigned, and was crowned in 1371. On the accession of Richard II of England, a war commenced which continued during the greater part of his reign. 1529. The Elector of Saxony, Marquis of Brandenburg, Landgrave of Hesse, Dukes of Lunenburg, Prince of Anhalt, together with 14 imperial cities, entered the solemn protest against the decree of the Diet of Spires condemning their nonconformity to the Romish Church by abolishing the Mass, etc., declaring the decree unjust and impious. Hence they were distinguished by the name of Protestants. 1560. Philip Melanchthon, a celebrated German divine, died. He was a coadjutor with Luther in the Reformation, and one of the wisest and greatest men of his age. 1593. Gilles Bais died, a celebrated Parisian printer, and the first after Ramos to make a distinction between J and I and U and V in printing. 1598. Henry IV of France published the memorable Edict of Nantes, by which Protestantism was tolerated in his dominions. 1608. Thomas Sackville, an English statesman and poet, died. He distinguished himself as a writer by the tragedy of Gorboduc, the first regular play on the English stage. As a statesman he has left a fair character. 1618. Thomas Baster died, a poet and preacher of England, of considerable learning and ability. 1669. George Bate, an English physician, died. He had the talent and address to keep his situation as court physician to Charles I, Cromwell and Charles II. He wrote an account of the civil wars in Latin. 1684. The Synod of Edinburgh changed the year of confirmation for children from 8 to 16 years. 1689. Christina, Queen of Sweden, died. She resigned the scepter, 1654, became a Catholic, and resided at Rome. She was a woman of great abilities and learning, and corresponded with the learned men of the day in different languages. 1689. The Toleration Act, so famous among dissenters and others in England, was passed. 1710. The 5 Mohawk chiefs, who were taken to England by Call Schuyler, attended an audience of great state with the Queen, and made a speech. 1739. Nicholas Saunderson, an English mathematician, died. He lost his sight from smallpox, at the age of 1 year. Notwithstanding which he acquired a knowledge of Greek and Latin, pursued his studies with the assistance of friends, and was sent to Cambridge University, where he became acquainted with Newton, and was finally chosen professor of mathematics. His eminence in the science of certainties has rarely been equaled. 1747. Thomas Coxeter, an English antiquary, died. He was a faithful and industrious collector of Old English literature, amassed materials for a biography of the English poets, and assisted Ames in his History of English Typography. 1751. John Banks, an English author, died. He was originally a weaver's apprentice. 1751. Lacaille arrived at the Cape of Good Hope, for the purpose of observing the southern hemisphere, He remained there 3 years, during which period he determined the exact position of 10,000 stars, and fixed the situation of the Isles of France and Bourbon. 1765. While at dinner with his family at Redriff, in England, a blacksmith was killed by a cannonball projected from an old cannon thrown into a neighboring furnace for fusion. 1775. Battle of Lexington, which commenced the Revolutionary War. About 800 British grenadiers and light infantry, proceeding to destroy the military stores at Concord, fell in with about 70 militia, upon whom they fired and killed 8. The British proceeded to Concord, where they partially effected their purpose, but were compelled to retreat before the gathering provincials, although reinforced by 900 men and 2 pieces of cannon. In this excursion the British lost 65 killed, 180 wounded, and 28 prisoners. The provincials lost 88 killed, wounded and missing. 1779. Call. Van Schaik marched from Fort Schuyler and destroyed Onondaga, New York, killed 12 Indians, took 34 prisoners, together with a large quantity of stores, arms, horses, etc. He returned without losing a man. 1782. Holland acknowledged the independence of the United States. 1783. Cessation of hostilities was proclaimed in the American Army, just 8 years from the day on which the war commenced. The loss of lives to the Americans during this war was estimated at 70,000 men, vast numbers of whom died on board of prison ships. Not less than 11,000 died in a Jersey prison ship alone. 1787. Drive Herschel observed 3 lunar volcanoes. 1791. Richard Price, an eminent English divine, died, celebrated for his great abilities in arithmetical calculations, and for very numerous and valuable writings, theological, political and scientific. 1797. Battle of Diersheim, between the Austrians under the veteran Gincre, and the French under Hoche, etc. The former were defeated with the loss of 4,000 prisoners, and all their cannon, baggage, ammunition, etc. 1797. The French under Moreau defeated the Austrians and entered Kiel. The Austrians fled, abandoning everything to the enemy. 1813. Benjamin Rush, a distinguished American physician and statesman, died. He was a member of Congress in 1776, and a signer of the Declaration of Independence. Few men have been greater ornaments to the country, and very few have acquired greater reputation both at home and abroad. 1824. George Gordon, Lord Byron, died aged 36. At the age of 19 he published a volume of his juvenile poems, which were the precursors of some of the rarest productions which the language affords. His career was marked by singularities and dissipation. Having embarked in the struggle of the Greeks for liberty, he was attacked by fever and died at Missolonghi. 1833. James Gambier, a British admiral, died. He commanded the fleet which took possession of the Danish navy in 1807. He was characterized by great piety and benevolence. 1837. M. Anselin, a Prussian minister, died at Berlin, aged 70. Eminent as a statesman, philosopher and publicist. 1839. Aaron Ogden, an American statesman and patriot, died. He served as an officer during the whole of the Revolutionary War, after which he practiced law for many years with great reputation, and held important civil offices. 1854. John Davis, a Massachusetts statesman of great ability, died, aged 67. 1856. Thomas Rogers, a noted manufacturer of cotton machinery, died in New York, aged 64. He early turned his attention to the construction of ironwork and machinery for railroads, and in 1835 began the manufacture of locomotives, in the construction of which he became greatly distinguished.